Slave to our freedom.
The young brother was downright eloquent with his misinformed soliloquy. He said using nigger affectionately among ourselves takes the negativity out of the word, but that no other race of people can use it ever but us. And you thought that kind of reasoning existed only in the Twilight Zone. Then again, the Twilight Zone was a TV show, and the plight of black America is tragic reality. Somebody said the revolution would not be televised. They didn't say anything about our devolution, which is well documented. You see it every day, our disrespect for one another. You can hear it in our sad excuse for artistry. We continue to squander our brilliant cultural legacy as musicians, poets, educators, and inventors. We call our women bitches and hoes. In a vivid exhibition of self-repulsion, we refer to ourselves as niggas. In our quest for acceptance and our relentless worship of bling, we have shed our sense of dignity and self-worth. It didn't used to be this way. Ironically, back when we fought for the opportunities we now abuse, that is when we stood tallest. Out of our torturous struggle for equality morphed a mighty pride and honor.
Slave to our freedom.
But now our pride is built on hollow motives and aimless ambitions. Today, to identify our oppressor, the modern black American need look no further than his own mirror. All of us aren't lost. Many of us know damn well that the emperor is butt naked. Every day we fight the good fight. But high praise for low thinking has taken its toll on generations. When so many are lost, there is enough blame to go around. When Martin Luther King Jr. prophesied the black man one day reaching the so-called promised land, he said,
I might not get there with you.
Lord knows, he didn't think we'd end up here.
Let the truth set you free.
Intelligence, that's the subject matter. Islam? Inconstancy is powerful in the heart of man. Intemperance sweat it whither it will. Despair engrowtheth much of it, and fear proclaimeth. Behold, I sit unraveled therein, but vanity is beyond them all. Weep not therefore at the calamities of the human state, rather laugh at his follies. In the hands of a man addicted to vanity, life then is but a shadow of a dream. The hero, the most renowned of human character, What is he but the bubble of this weakness? The public is unstable and ungrateful. Why should the man of wisdom endanger himself for fools? At this time, I like to recite the Moorish American prayer, the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I like to rise to give praise to Allah. I like to give praise to Allah because Allah is the Father of the universe. And we are told to fear Allah all the days of our life. But in this context, when it say fear Allah, it means respect Allah. It means respect love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It means respect the highest principles known to man. I'd like to give honor to Allah's holy and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. A lot of people think it's strange that a prophet could be born here in America, just like in the days of Jesus. They thought that one could not be born in that era of time. But when we begin to check the records, we have to give honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because it was he who told us, did not we have a national name? When first brought to these shores in the early part of the 17th century, if so, what was it? I'd like to give honor to our two flags. I'd like to give honor to all literature. I'd like to give honor to everything pertaining to Islam in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'd like to give honor to Temple 2. I'd like to give honor to sheikhs and sheikhs here, there, and everywhere that's doing anything for the uplifting of fallen humanity. Last but not least, I'd like to give honor to Brother Lynch-Bey because I looked yesterday, Friday, and I seen them brothers out there shoveling the snow in Chicago. Matter of fact, they shoveled the whole block. And then I get on the phone and hear some other people saying they can't attend their meeting because it's snowing outside. But these brothers showed what man can do. And last but not least, I'd like to give honor to effort because so many of us don't even try. At this time, I'd like to read from the Book of the Seven Seals. The Book of the Seven Seals is talking about the 18 years that's missing in the Holy Bible. You know, we talk about Jesus when he was 12, and you don't hear no more about him until he's 33. Those 18 years are right here in the Moorish Science Temple of America, yet none was able to open and read from his sacred pages the messages of purity and love. But I'm getting ready to do it right now. I'd like to ask everyone that's at the sound of my voice that have a Moorish Holy Quran to turn to chapter 15. And in chapter 15, at the caption at the top, it said divine ministry of Jesus. It said Jesus goes into the wilderness for self-examination, where he remains 40 days, is subjected to 3 temptations. Now we see in chapter 15, Jesus was subjected to 3 temptations, but he overcame these 3 temptations while he was in the wilderness. And a lot of us, when we look for the wilderness, we're looking for trees and birds and bees, but the wilderness is within the heart of your own mind. So I want to read from chapter 15, and I want to read a verse. And the verse that I want to read from chapter 15 is verse 15. And verse 15 reads on this wise. But Jesus said, away from me all tempting thoughts. My heart is fixed. I sprung this carnal self with all its vain ambitions and its pride. Let me read another verse. For 40 days did Jesus wrestle with his carnal self. His high self prevailed. He then was hungry, but his friends had found him and they ministered to him. So when Jesus went into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, those 40 days and 40 nights are the 4 sacred schools of thought. The 4 sacred schools of thought are Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. Now I want to tell you one of the things Jesus said when he went into the wilderness, because this is a Quran question for Moorish America. And in order to understand what's in the book, you got to have a questionnaire. And I want to look at question 78. In question 78, it says, what are the last words, what are the words Jesus uttered? And it said, it is finished. And then it said, what did he have reference to? It said he had a reference to the end of Satan. Now, Jesus said that he had a reference to the end of Satan. I want to talk about the Quran a little bit, because when you basically hear one talk about the Moorish Science Temple, they're talking about running down to the courthouse and getting a driver's license and beating somebody up. But you already told us something. He told us something about this Moorish Quran, and we're going to get into this today because it's imperative that we do. So now, it said, where are you going, Satan? It said, I'm going to and fro the earth, seeking who I may devour. Brother asked me, what do I mean about we got to let some things go? I'm going to show it to you right now. So now we got to let Satan go. Now, who is Satan? I used to be Satan. I used to be Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. And I'm going to just show you one of these attributes today, and we'll let you look at it. I was with our brother Lynch-Bey before I come over here, and I was going over the lesson that I'm getting ready to talk to you about today. And he's a teacher. He's one of those people that's trying to overcome drinking and certain things. He's one of those kind of instructors. So if I go to you, I say, come on, man, let's go have a drink. Let's go to the club and get some girls over there. Let's go rob something. When I come to somebody and ask them certain things like, oh, you married and let's go get some girls. You know who I am? I'm Satan. And I'm going to and fro the earth seeking who I may devour. Because if I know that you married, you got a wife at home, you trying to pay bills, and I come to you with that kind of thought pattern, I'm not a friend. I'm a foe. Because a friend wouldn't tell you to do that. He'll tell you to pay your dues, keep in line with all necessities, and do the thing that you're supposed to do. So now when we look at here, we see Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. Each one have a different attribute. So now when we talk about that, we're going back to Japhet. Ham, Shem, and Japhet. Japhet represent Gog and Magog, the mischiefs of the earth. So let me explain something to you. And I got to do this because I'm going to give Bruce Bashar honor. I want to give Bruce Bashar honor because Bruce, without me knowing, trying to set up a meeting with all of the brothers of the Islamic community. But the word came down, hey man, we'll meet, but we don't want to meet with Lynch-Bey. We don't want to meet with him, but we'll meet with everybody else. Yeah, but you'll meet with those dudes that got the collar turned around backwards, took your genealogy, claiming to be you. It's all right to be with them so you can take a picture with him and show it to somebody else when they took your Jesus. They buried your Jesus in Vatican Square and took on your name. Now let me tell you something about the Berlin Conference. When we begin to talk about the Berlin Conference, we only look to Africa. We look at certain nations in Africa, just like Morocco. Didn't get its independence in 1956. How's that? When Africa been there all this long time and they just getting their independence? But let me tell you this. It said Jesus was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and inhabitants of Africa. So now we're talking about Hagar, the Egyptian. We're saying that Sarah couldn't have children. And there was a handmaid named Hagar, the Egyptian. And they had a child. And the child that they had named was Ishmael, and Ishmael is the father of the Arabian nation. Something happened to me the other day. It was real good. I talked to Sister Carolyn Bullock, and she was telling me that it was asked to her by somebody to get her a book on J.A. Rogers. And when we begin to talk about the book on J.A. Rogers, this was a required book back in the 70s for all the Moors to read. And the reason why that was is because when you look at J.A. Rogers' collection and you look at the ancient Moroccans, they look just like me. Or when you go to Arabia and look at the ancient Arabians, they look just like me. They got to because they are the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese. So when you begin to talk about the Berlin Conference, the Saudi Arabia is part of the Berlin Conference. Just like when you look at Morocco today and see the Spanish over there and see the French over there, when you look in Saudi Arabia, you see the same thing. You see Germans, you see Italians, you see Dutch, you see Portuguese. They're speaking a different tone, but that is of whom from which they come. So now they just took everything. They took everything from you and me and telling you there can't be no prophet. You got brothers that look just like me, the same hue that I am. And they say that Muhammad is the last and the seal of the prophet. We study all God's prophets, but God wouldn't be God. A person that went through the middle passage, the thing that we have been through, and he's not going to send us somebody to redeem us from that which was lost. That's ludicrous. That's another form of mental slavery. So Drew Ali came and told them all. He said, you know what? Because of what's going over there in Morocco and you ain't there, they done took your genealogy. He said, our new Mecca now is in Chicago. So everybody want to go to Saudi Arabia, you better go to Chicago and get with the Grand Major Temple because that's very important. Let me say this now. Last week before the last time we was on the show, we had one of our sisters from Detroit, Michigan. She came on the show. And it was such an honor because she was able to talk about the concepts and the ideologies in the Moorish Science Temple about the woman, about the family structure, about education, and etc. And we're so happy that we had her come on the show and talk about that. But she told me some things, and I shared them with a sister that I just called her name. They have an organization in Washington, D.C., and the organization you have in Washington, D.C. is dealing with the women. Matter of fact, I sent her some books that Linda Earl's wife have wrote, and I'm about ready to send her a whole lot more because she's requesting these books. So you got to understand that the book of Ecclesiastes says everything has its season. Sometimes man teach best, and sometimes he don't. But right now, we want to give honor to the sister. Because if you don't give honor to the sister, you're not giving honor to your mother. Let me share something with you. I had a friend of mine when I was growing up. His name was Sammy. He used to be coach of the Dunbar football team now. Everybody called him Coach Sammy. And we was children. You know, he had a sister younger than him named Ellen. And we used to want to go to the white and colored playground to play football. But we couldn't go because he had to give his little sister a bath first. So I used to sit on the step while he was in there giving his sister the bath. And after he gave his sister the bath, then we went on and played ball. We had no more about it because that's the kind of family that we had. But the sister told me that in every other household, you have men playing with these little babies, going up in these little children. Sister told me she don't even know what being a virgin is because she was messed with all the days of her life, and it caused her to go in the street and get some kind of signs to put herself back on location. So it's a lot of lessons that need to be taught. And the sister is the first teacher. And you need to teach these lessons to our little ones. And the reason why the sister can't teach certain lessons is because I'm seeing that a lot of these physical things is coming from the man. And the reason why the sister don't have too much respect for the man is because the man done lost his head. My mother told me when I was a child, son, the first thing you don't do is lose your head. He said, because study your lesson. We know about Abraham. And as we study Abraham, Abraham had a nephew. And Abraham's nephew was Lot. And Lot had 2 daughters. And they say that Lot went into his 2 daughters. And from his 2 daughters came the Moabites. Lot went into his 2 daughters. He impregnated his 2 daughters. But he impregnated them upon the pregnant doctrine. And he went into them with the truth. They took our genealogy, changed it, just like they buried in Vatican Square. They got us taking on different concepts and different ideologies. So we're going to try to set up some stuff up here to bring some of these Moorish sisters up here so they could teach and let you hear about Noble Drew Ali. Because every time we hear somebody talking about Noble Drew Ali, all you hear, they don't talk about the spirit. They hear about going down to the court, because you don't have to need no driver license to drive, all that foolishness. Foolishness that we're going to have to get rid of in order to come back under one head like the prophet left it. So I got a lot more to say, But I'm going to come back because we have somebody got something to tell you, our chairman. Our chairman has something to tell you, and it's always an honor to hear this brother speak. So without further ado, I'd like to call the chairman of Temple number 2 here in Portland, Oregon, Brother Boston Hill.
Islam. Thank you, Sheikh. First of all, I want to extend my personal praises to the great God of the universe. Allah be his holy Muslim name. The one who stretched forth the heavens with his hands. The one who described with his fingers the courses of the stars. The one who says to the stormy winds, be still, and set it bounds to the ocean that it cannot pass. The author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. I want to extend honors to our noble and divine prophet, who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah to redeem man from their sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father God Allah. And I want to say that it's a pleasure and a blessing and more of a duty to be back before our Portland listening audience this evening. I wanted to say also that the message that I have at this moment for my brothers and sisters that's in the Moorish Sign Temple of America, I want to greet you in Islam, and I want to say peace on earth, goodwill to all men. That is my message. So again, we're here at the round table discussing the needs of the world, because at this present time, in this cycle age that we live in, you know, so much is going on. There's so much going on in the families. The mentality of the people has been corrupted, and people are acting out in an abnormal fashion. But I want to say that I praise the great God Allah for sending Prophet Noble Drew Ali to change some things in me. And one of the things that that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali has assisted in helping me change is changing my thought pattern. Because, you know, before I met the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you know, I didn't know about all, you know, I didn't know about, you know, that thought was the cause of it all. And, you know, I'm, you know, being psychologically educated, that, you know, about my actions and my behaviors, you know. And then I realized after I was introduced to the Prophet, I started getting into the lessons, how important it was that that I recognized that my actions and my behavior is a direct result of the way I was thinking. So, you know, I praise the great God Allah for sending the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali to help me change my thought pattern. And, you know, with my thoughts being changed, and I'm, you know, thinking on a different level now, you know, situations and circumstances in my life are only milestones for me to be able to, you know, move to another level. Because as the Sheikh always say when he's teaching, you know, every realm gets higher and higher. And I'm definitely not at the same place that I was years ago before I met the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Another thing what I wanted to say today is that I want to come talk about the everlasting gospel. Now we have question 41 in our Quran questionnaire says, what is the everlasting gospel? It is a saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet. And then Key 42 says, what is the covenant of the great God Allah? To honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earth land which the Lord thy God Allah have given thee. So, you know, with that, I am truly grateful. But anyway, I'm going to get into this this measure, because there was a very, very important question that the Sheikh was just talking about. He's talking about intelligent. You know, and the difference between making intelligent decisions and unintelligent decisions, you know. And the Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches the Moors in the Moors literature, you know. I mean, you know, it's common sense when you think about it, because he says that if the Italians, the Greeks, the Japanese, the Chinese, if all these nationalities, these nations of people, you know, proclaim their forced to proclaim their nationality before the government, then it's not only right for us to do the same. Now, the most intelligent thing that's going on in the mentality of our people is they keep claiming to the names and labels that delude to slavery. See, and then, we're always talking about having a national name, when we first came to these shores in the early part of the 17th century. But this is my reading today. So I want to take this reading because it's custom in the Moorish Science Temple of America to take a reading from the Holy Quran when one teaches a group of Moors, and I'm going to honor that what the Prophet brought and take that reading. And these are the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, and this is chapter 26, Holy Instructions of Unity. And verse 1 begins, it says, the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah, and he appointed to everyone his portion in what measure seemeth good unto himself. Have he endowed thee with wisdom? Have he enlightened thy mind with the knowledge of truth? Communicated to the ignorant for their instruction, communicated to the wise for thine own improvement. True wisdom is less presuming than folly. The wise man doubteth often, and changeth his mind. The fool is obstinate, and doubteth not. He knoweth all things, but his own ignorance. The pride of emptiness is an abomination, and to talk much is the foolishness of folly. Nevertheless, it is the part of wisdom to hear with patience their impertinence, and to pity their absurdity. Yet be not puffed up in thine own conceit, neither boast of superior understanding. The clearest human knowledge is but blindness and folly. The wise man feeleth his imperfections and is humbled. He laboreth in vain for his own approbation, but the fool peepeth in the shadow stream of his own mind, and is pleased with the pebbles which he seeth at the bottom. He bringeth them up and showeth them his pearls, and with the applause of his brethren delighteth himself. He boasteth of attainments and things that are of no worth, but where it is a shame to be ignorant, there he have no understanding. Even in the path of wisdom, he toileth after folly, and shame and disappointment are the reward of his labor. But the wise man cultivates his mind with knowledge. The improvement of the arts is his delight, and their utility to the public crowneth with honor. Nevertheless, the attainment of virtue he accounted as the highest learning, and the science of happiness is the study of his life. And I just took a reading from the Moorish Holy Quran, page 36, chapter 26, Holy Instructions of Unity. These are the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. All honors to the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And I want to go back and I want to talk about one of the verses that I just read. And it came out of verse 2. Have he endowed thee with wisdom? Have he enlightened thy mind with the knowledge of truth? Communicated to the ignorant for their instruction, communicated to the wise for thine own improvement. Now, see, and this, I'm glad this subject matter turned out to be on intelligence, because, when we talking about making intelligent decisions, we talking about making these decisions from a position of strength. And the only way that you can make these decisions from a position of strength is you got to be in the lessons. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali tells us in chapter 1 of the creation and fall of man in the Moorish Holy Quran, he said, a multitude of lessons man must learn on the plane of soul, and here he tarries many ages until his lessons are all learned. See, so, when a person get to the point where they not learning the lesson and they not opening themselves up to receive some type of information, some type of education, that only results in that person being stagnated. So the chains of slavery have been taken off of our feet and put on our minds. And I heard a saying a long time ago. I used to hear this from the elders, in my household. I used to listen to my grandfather. He used to say, if you don't want a person to know something, put it in a book. And he was basing that, from the point of view that, so many people, some people are so lazy in their mentality that they expect everything to be given to them, and most definitely we wasn't born with with a silver spoon in our mouth, so this work, this spiritual work that we need to do within ourselves requires attention, and it requires discipline. And that's one thing that I like about this, about the Moorish Science Temple of America, and especially about the teachings of the Holy Prophet, because teachings of the Holy Prophet, have made it possible for me to move from one level of my life to another level of my life, And when we talk about standing for the highest divine principles known to man, love, true peace, freedom, and justice, living by the highest divine principles known to man, love, true peace, freedom, and justice, then we talking about living a moral and clean life, or at least attempting to try to, clean out the closet, because we all have skeletons in the closet. We all have made mistakes, and I want to talk about that word mistake, because actually, if you know anything about the English language, a prefix is a grammatical stem that when put in front of a word, it changes the meaning of the word. So then we have this word mistake. Now, Hollywood use it all the time because, they always yell at cut. Every time somebody make a mistake, they yell cut, because that gives that person a chance to go back and remember what he was supposed to say, his line, his line from the script, where he can go back and regroup. So if you look at this word, mistakes, mistakes, it's two words. And it's just, what this word, the definition of this word is mistakes. It's just, it just means that that there was an error. But it also gives you an opportunity to be able to step back and realize what you've done or how you thought to bring that result of that negative consequence or that negative situation, into your grasp, is because, you had to, use the intelligence to know that, hey, man, I made a mistake. But you know what? We always get do-overs. All our lives, we've been getting do-overs. We make one mistake, but the definition of insanity, what they say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. So if you doing something in your life, if you thinking a certain way in your life, because remember I said, thinking is, thought is the cause of it all. So therefore your actions and your behavior, everything else that comes after the thought, is diametrically opposed to what you're supposed to be living by. And I hear brothers talk all the time, but I'm not talking about anybody else today, because I want this whole experience, this whole spiritual experience, because I'm a human being, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience right now. So the lesson is self. So when I talk on this show, I'm talking from my own personal experience, and like I say, the thoughts that I used to have, I don't think those thoughts no more. The things I used to do, I don't do no more, and so, praising Allah each and every day that He has brought me into the marvelous light of Islam and brought me out of that darkness, So I'm not really operating and living my life on the principles of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. I'm living by divine principles of love, true peace, freedom, and justice. And there's so much that we need to learn. The Sheikh was asking a question early before the show began. He said, when we gonna put down the book and start living? You see what I'm saying? But we got the lessons. Moors out there, we have the lessons, and we need to take heed to the lesson and not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And our greatest desire here at Temple 2 in Portland, Oregon is, we constantly thinking of the prophet, the holy prophet Noble Drew Ali. And what we thinking in this sense is that the prophet said there's only one temple, one prophet, one Allah. So, I mean, we've been talking for years and years and years about bringing this Moorish Science Temple back up under one head like the prophet left it, and that's going to continue to be our task, for a long time, is to, till we get in a position where, we living in unity and everything like that. So those holy instructions of unity, but communicating something to somebody and they not listening to what you saying, they are not hearing what you saying, and then you know, when you try to just help a person because they're ignorant, and the word when somebody said you're ignorant, don't take offense to it, because being the definition for the word ignorance is just not knowing, you know. So there's a difference between being stupid and being ignorant. Like I said before, being ignorant is it's just simple definition. It just means not knowing. But once you know, you're gonna be held accountable for it. You know, so there, you know, these lessons are for those that love Jesus, like the Prophet Noble Ali said. You know, I love this Moorish and National Divine Movement. I love what it has done for me in my life. You know, and I can see myself improving. I can see myself getting better and better and better, because see, my mentality when I wake up every day and I study my lessons, and I listen to that still small voice of Allah speaking within the heart, because that's the nearest place that we can meet Allah is in the heart. So when Allah is speaking with my heart and He's guiding me in my spirit, you know, showing me different ways to go and the right way to go. You know, I try my best, at least 100% of the time or 90% of the time, to try to do the right thing, you know, and that's what I feel good about. I'm not out here hurting nobody. I'm not out here taking from nobody. I'm not out here mistreating nobody, especially the women and children, you know, because the Prophet Noble Ali told the Moors, he said we need to have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. I want to give honors again to Sheikah's Stacy Calhoun Bay from Detroit, Michigan, when she was here, and commend her on such a beautiful job of what she talked about and taught on the show to the sisters. So I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, the sisters come together, you know, and making something happen, you know, because, you know, they are the first teachers. So our brothers, you know, we need to have a little bit more appreciation, not only for womanhood, but we need to have some self-respect, you know, and we can always continue to go back and say the lesson is self, and the lesson is self, because man, know thyself. That's what was written over the doors of all the temples in Egypt, you know, which is the capital dominion of Africa. So Egypt and Africa are not separate, you know, they're one and the same. So, but this lesson here, you know, communicating it to the ignorant for their instruction, communicating to the wise for thine own improvement. Like I said, a multitude of lessons man must learn upon the plane of soul, and here he tarries many ages until his lessons all learned. So, you know, don't, when you have a situation where you need to learn a lesson from, you know, and I understand this because since I've been in Moorish Zion Temple of America, and my experience with the Prophet's teachings have allowed me to be able to make better decisions in my life. You know, sometimes I don't make I might make a hasty decision, but if I go back into the lessons and look at what the Prophet wrote about that particular situation, there's always a remedy for it. And you know, the Prophet Noble Ali, he teaches us. He said a person that don't have no, you know, the actions of a person's life are not right because it proceeds not from reason. And we have the capability to think, understand, reason, and will. You know, Allah gave man the freedom of choice. So you have free will. You can choose your destiny. You can make or mar your destiny. You know, also we learn in the Moorish Zion Temple of America that Allah never made a heaven for man. He never made a hell. We are creators and make our own. So, you know, we do have that creative ability instilled within the spirit man of us, you know, that if we start following more the dictates of the spirit, because, you know, when we do that, then the end will always be right. And but I want to thank James Lynch-Bey for his friendship. You know, it's been a blessing since we have met, and I really appreciate it because, you know, it's always said that, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And this brother is a very, very, very prolific teacher and instructor, and I'm, you know, learning so much, you know, from the Moor, you know. And I want to give honors to our treasurer, Brother Navi Elahi Bey. Want to say that I hope all is well and that Allah continue to bless you. And we look forward to to seeing you soon. Want to extend honors to all the Moors here, there, and everywhere all over the country who are aiding in this gigantic mission, uplift fallen humanity, because at this point in time, this nation, our nation, you know, when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came and established this Moorish Science Temple of America, he set up a nation within a nation and a government within a government. And we have the laws of our government because we operate under a theocratic government. So we have our law, the spiritual laws of our government, and every nation of people have that situation before them, you know, that they have traditions and customs that they follow, you know, and I'm so glad that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali bought us everything it takes to save a nation. Now take it and save yourself. So with that, I'm going to call the Sheik back and let him finish out the show. Remember, we meet every Friday evening at Matt Dishman Community Center, 77 Northeast Knott Street, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Come on out, hear some of this everlasting gospel. Hear some of this. Hear about the covenant, and hear about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And with that, I'm going to say peace. May Allah continue to bless you all. And here's the Sheik, James Lynch-Bey.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Let's give on to the chairman for teaching that everlasting gospel. And I want to talk about something because the chairman read about unity. And I want to talk about unity. But before I do, there was a young brother I met. His name was Cornelius Cook-Bey. Good little young brother. His mother's name was, I know she's one of them little Cook-Bey sisters. And Cook-Bey and I used to talk all the time. And when he was assistant Grand Sheik, and I was the Grand Sheik. And I liked him so much because he had an old man fasana. He reminded me of his uncle and them, and I mean his great uncle and his great grandfather. But he told me one day, he said, Lynch-Bey, he said in Sunday school one day, my grandfather and my great uncle was disputing the law. He said one of them said, no, the prophet said this. And the other one said, no, the prophet said that. And I went into my mind with that. And I understood it because I just heard the chairman say, we was talking about you got to grow. He's talking about climbing Jacob's ladder, every round gets higher and higher. Or when you go to the book of Genesis and look at Noah's Ark, they say on Noah's Ark there was many cubits high. And those cubits high are levels of consciousness. So now I want to explain this to you. We're talking about unity. You know, unity is you and I time. And a lot of times we keep talking about the Moors coming together in unity. In order for you to be able to come together in unity, you first must come together in unity with Allah. So you got to reach Allah before you can reach man. Because you got to make a vow to Allah before you can make the vow to man. So now you talking about you want to be in unity with Allah. He just read it. And how can you become in unity with Allah? First off, you got to learn how to live love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You got to try the spirit, test the spirit, and see are you from the same spirit. You got to start talking about the prophet and what he brought us. Now, we don't understand this. When you begin to talk about the Moorish Science Temple of America, we're talking about a holy and divine movement. We're talking about a prophet who came with a methodology that was conducive to our growth and development spiritually, mentally, and physically. Because Drew Ali came, he hooked us back up with the family of nations. And when he did that, the first thing he said, you was a Muslim. Now we get hung up. Everybody think when you say that somebody is a Muslim, that they got a kufi on their head, and they got one of them long jabahs or whatever you call, one of them long dresses on. And that's the custom of the Arabian people. That don't have anything to do with the religion. I got a friend of mine that lives in Saudi Arabia, and his name is Yusuf Ali. But Yusuf Ali is not a Muslim. Yusuf Ali is a Christian. But his name is Yusuf Ali. And the reason why his name is Yusuf Ali, because his nationality, he is of Arabian nationality. So that is the custom. I had a friend, I said this before, he lived in Alaska. I told him to send me some Muslim clothes, and he sent me a big old coat that had fur on it. I said, man, I told you to send me this. I sent you a Muslim coat. I got the coat from a brother that's a Muslim. That's Muslim clothes because you're talking about customs. Just like customs say that Muslims don't supposed to wear gold. What do that have to do with your religion? When you talking about Africa and the cradle of Africa, that's all they got there is gold. Don't tell me we have to wear gold, but the Prophet Muhammad took all that from y'all in that Arab time and gave you 5 times to pray. Because once you finish praying one time, you can ready to do something crazy, it'd be time for you to pray again. But the Moorish American, we don't pray 5 times a day. We pray 1,000,000 times a day. Because a good word, a kind deed, and helping those in need is a prayer. So now we're looking through the holy city of Mecca. You go through the holy city of Mecca, which is so corrupt, because you know every time they have something going on in the East, and the United States is involved, where do they put all the ships at? Where do they put all of the planes at? Right there in Saudi Arabia. Because the president of the United States went over to Saudi Arabia not too long ago. And the only way that we was able to tell him different from them is because they had that gear on. But if he would have had that gear on, he looked just like them. Why? Because it's part of the Berlin Conference. How can you sit with a man talking about you coming together in unity with somebody when they got a collar turned around backwards and took your Jesus? Buried your Jesus in Vatican Square and took on his name. Now I got a problem with something too. See, because Drew Ali say that you point the way. He said a block of wood could point the way. I don't care how much I'm growing, how much I overcome, but there's certain things you just don't do. I don't care where we're going, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to overcome, you just weak. That's what the book say. Because Jude Ali tells us, he said that when you're born and you have a will, your family leaves you a will. And the will that they leave you is the will to choose. Remember I told you a long time ago, I used to say that the devil made me do it. Every time I do something that was diametrically opposed to what God said do, what do? I say the devil made me do it. Now you know the devil is a spirit. Don't get caught up in an illusion. Because when we was children, we thought that the devil had horns. And we thought that an angel had wings. So now I come to find out that the devil is anybody that do devilish things. I did a lot of devilish things. But when Drew Ali came with this methodology to tell me who I was, because you know the Dred Scott decision of 1857 said that we was 3/5 of a man. They said we were 3/5 of a man and that we could not be citizens of this government, but Drew Ali came. And when Drew Ali came, he came with 2/5. He brought you your nationality to hook you back up with this land, and he gave you your religion to hook you back up. So that's 2/5. In mathematics, all day long, we're talking about 5/5. So if you were 3/5 of a man, when Allah sent over Drew Ali to bring us those other 2/5, now we whole again. Nationality is the order of the day. If you don't proclaim your nationality, you'll not really honor your father and your mother. And if you ain't honor your father and your mother, your days will not be long upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God, Allah, has given thee. Now we're talking about, not only are we talking about the Berlin Conference, we're talking about some other things that deal with the Catholic Church. Because you got to understand that when we sing, they do not sing in Christianity. You don't sing in Christianity. All you brothers and sisters thinking when you go to church, you singing, that's not Christianity. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. It was the Roman nation that founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. So when you hear our brothers and sisters in the church, they're going to give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion, Lord. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. That old time religion is Islamism. See, when you begin to talk about Jesus, when you begin to talk about Muhammad, when you begin to talk about Buddha, and when you begin to talk about Confucius, you talking about the seed of Abraham. You going back to Egypt. You going back to Egypt because Egypt and Africa are one. And they try to tell you it's something different because of what we're taking. Now let me tell you this. This flag right here, the flag, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. Drew Ali was telling the sheiks, said when he went and got that flag from Woodrow Wilson, the mothballs that was on there had took and eaten out the star. And Drew Ali looked at him and said, look what you have done to a clean and pure nation. They took everything. They burned our forefathers in Vatican Square, took on our name, and Rome's time been declared out. I told you the reason why that we have Roman numbers in our Moorish Quran is because we're still in Rome. We don't wear the ankh. Let me explain that. In the time of Noble Drew Ali, you didn't find the Moors wearing the ankh. And certain brothers in certain chambers, they ain't gonna wear the ankh anyway because you got to understand, Drew Ali took us higher than the ankh. Drew Ali gave us the 7. The ankh is under the 7. Stop bringing that new stuff here. Drew Ali knew what he was doing. And brothers keep asking me, hey man, Brother Gamaliel asked me the other day, hey Lynch-Bey, tell me something about Drew Ali and when he went through the chamber in Egypt. I looked at that dude, man. You don't even know the Moorish American prayer, can't tell me nothing about Act 1, and you want to know something about Jesus and Drew Ali in Egypt. And that's what's wrong with the Moorish Science Temple of America right now. When you first come in the Moorish Science Temple, the first thing you're supposed to know is your map. Your map is that back to the great God Allah. Because in that map, it says Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. And salvation is a ladder reaching from the heart of Allah to the heart of man. And it has 3 steps. Belief is first. And this is what man thinks perhaps is true. Faith is next. And this is what man knows is true. Now you better be ever mindful of this faith. Because when you talk about faith, then I remember in the lesson faith where there was a priest that came in the back door. And a lot of times we think when we talk about a priest coming in the back door, it had to be a physical priest. It's your thinking. A lot of times when Drew Ali tell us don't even name our children Ali because he knew we was in the spirit. And look what we got Noble Drew Ali 1. We got Noble Drew Ali 2. We got Noble Drew Ali 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But Drew Ali of 1913 said, I bought you everything that it take to save a nation. Now take it and save yourself. And we're going to take these teachings and save ourselves. How do you save yourself? By living according to this book, trying to be what you got. Man have to be this. Man is not the body nor the soul. He's a spirit and a part of Allah. But what spirit are you? Are you a spirit and a part of Allah? If you are, then you are in unity. You're in unity with Allah when you're doing what Allah say do. And that's what we're learning here in the Moorish Science Temple. We're learning in the Moorish Science Temple that see when Jesus right here, see Drew Ali, you see this in Revelation. He got 1 foot on the land and 1 on the sea. And with the 1 on the land and 1 on the sea, not only is he lifting up the sister. See, we just say, but he's lifting up the world. Drew Ali is lifting up the whole world. That's why I say he got the whole world in his hand. He got you and me, brother. In his hand, he got the whole world in his hand because Africa is the cradle of civilization. I was so happy Friday we was in the temple and we had a young brother there. And I was talking about Noah's 3 sons. And Boston Neal got up, took his Bible over there, and showed the brother when you look at Genesis, it tells you that Noah's 3 sons was Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Drew Ali told us something different. Drew Ali told us that it was Ham, Shem, and Japheth. That's just like when you see all these brothers and all these sisters that's running over there to the Masonic order, and most of you call yourself leaders, you do that. But my man, the one that Drew Ali taught himself, Drew Ali told him, said, give that Masonic stuff back because I'm going to kicked the covers off of all secret organizations. And because of the stuff that my family left with me, my father, I look and I seen Boaz, I seen Ruth, and all of the passwords that I seen in that book was of you and was of me. So we need to understand that man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So to get close to God, you got to do it in spirit and in truth. Because man is not the body nor the soul. God is not in the physical. He is in the spirit. That's why he said, let thy spirit, O man, actuate and direct your flesh. So your spirit is what directs the flesh. If you do something right, your spirit is directing it. If you do something wrong, your spirit is directing it. But what spirit are you? Are you lustful spirit? Are you carnal spirit? Are you divine spirit? Everybody walk around talking about somebody drinking wine, or somebody smoking weed, or somebody smoking cigarettes. We got to overcome those foes, but you got to get them demons out of you. There are demons that's in disguise, all powerful, yet full of jealousy, hate, and lust. And that's what we are full of: jealousy, hate, and lust. Just like going back to the sister that was here. People asked a lot of questions about the sister. But you know what I told? See, the sister told me before she left, I learned something from you. And I was honored that every time I see her, she said she learned something from me. That's telling me that I impregnated her mind. I love to pregnate her mind and not her body. Because if I pregnate her mind, she gonna come back. If I pregnate her mind, she going somewhere body, she going somewhere else because I'm an old man. You know, so I love my work. I love what I'm doing. I thank Allah for all these great blessings. And what I want to do right now, I want to shut up and say the Morse American prayer because I want to hear the most sing better than Michael Jackson. So at this time, I would like to recite. No, I'm going to quote something first. These are trying out the Moors, and every evil spirit is moving now. They're trying every weak mind to tear down and drag out the true foundation which has been laid by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. But if you have a love of Allah in your heart and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not nothing you hear or see, but will sacrifice to the utmost of your very life to protect your prophet and the temple. This is the everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sins. At this time I recite the Morse American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. We through.
That worked out.
The citizens of all three national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family, bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classified as undesirables and are subjugated to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens